Hello and welcome to our third and final episode of Let's Discuss over this boring period where West Ham don't have a game. In this episode we're going to be discussing the upcoming summer transfer window and what we think is priority, not necessarily who, although you can recommend some who if you've got some who in your head. No singing though, and also a bit more about what position. But John, heading into this summer transfer window, we need a keeper, we know that. Joe Hart's on the way out. What kind of keeper would you like to see us go for? I think you've got three options. You've got, I always say this, do you agree? There's always good free keepers in the summer. As long as you're happy to get a Randolph type one that's going to be second fiddle. But do you go for cheap and free, keep your budget elsewhere? Do you spend a decent bit of cash and try and get a number one in? Or would you go for a younger keeper who would be happy to be second choice, but in 2 seasons time you'd expect him to be number one?
A little bit like Adrian when he first came maybe. But it's interesting that there was a youngster linked as a possible second for next season. He was a teenager still. Don't remember the details of something I've seen in the last few days. Sad to say that it's not happened for Hart. Okay, we move on. Obviously Adrian's still going to be here. I really think that we would be looking at one of the sort of league journeymen that will spend a couple of years with us, who's experienced. We wouldn't be splashing the cash on a goalkeeper, in my opinion. If there's a limited amount in the budget, then it won't be for the goalkeeper. That's my opinion. So the option 2.
What about yourself, mate? What do you think we should be going for?
I read that story as well about that youngster. And what I understood from it, because he was 17, is that he would take Nathan Trott's place in the youth team to be developed, and Nathan Trott was going to go through into the number 2 part. Now, I've seen a number, not that many, but 3 or 4 under 23 games of Everton squad games, and Nathan Trott is the one banker in there, I'm telling you now, for that. Because Declan Rice is already in the first team, that's it, right? So he is the one, he is a very, very good goalkeeper, and I think he is good enough to step up to that number 2 role. And there you go, you're not spending any money on, which you're right, they're not going to blow a big budget on it. I think Adrian's guaranteed now on number 1. I'd like to see him brought through and given time in cup games, especially early on in cup runs, and given a chance to play in those.
Is that not a big risk if the window's shut? The window shuts before the season starts now. We have to remember that. The window shuts before our first league game. Is that not a risk that if we get a keeper to Adrian, that we've got an inexperienced keeper in goal for a potential 4 or 5 months? Is that not or is that just the risk you take?
Well, if you bring in a journeyman, which John's talking about, and I see the strength of the argument, I get where you're coming from, and Adrian gets injured, then you've got an older journeyman goalkeeper in place who's not going to be that good because he's been released for free. Now, there are always free goalkeepers. Generally, there's a reason for that unless there is the odd really good one you can get, but that really good one isn't going to want to come in and be number 2, largely speaking. Okay, so it's just, money talks, yeah. But do you want to spend big money, or do you want to risk a teenage goalkeeper? What's his name? The lad who's at Everton now, who came through at Sunderland, Pickford, had that opportunity at Sunderland and took it, and has become a goalkeeper that people have spent 30 million on, and he's talked about his potential England goalkeeper for the next World Cup, right? That is because he had the opportunity as the young goalkeeper who was standing, took his chance when it came. Who's to say Nathan Trott isn't going to take that opportunity? I know that he might not, but I quite like the idea of giving him the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, interesting. John, one thing I will say, I know people mock the summer transfer budget, don't we all? But one thing I will say, the club, as it stands, they've got Hart, Mario and Evra leaving in the summer. That's about 300 grand a week in wages freed up like that. That's a lot of cash before you even have to think about spending more than you currently are. So where do you think the vast majority of our summer budget should be going on position-wise in the summer?
I think defensively we're short. Font has gone now, a very, very poor time for us. Reed is out for the season. Does that mean then that will he be fit for the new season? Collins, as we've discussed before, really needs to have that extra year given to him, and now, so at least his head is right for the rest of this season, and thinking forward, he's settled here, his kids are here and so on. That would be a big bonus. But it needs an extra body in there. The right back position, we've never ever settled. Whilst Zabaletta's doing so well this season, he's one of those at that age where his legs could go just like that midway through the season, and then he was stuck. Yeah, talking about Byron before, think back to 2 or 3 years ago when he made his debut against Manchester City. He came on for an injured player, played out of his skin. We thought, well, that set his standard of play, and sadly, for so many reasons, he's not reached those levels since then, 2 or 3 years later. So the right back spot has always been a problem for us. Left back, Creswell again hasn't reached the levels that he's put in for us before that got him into the England squad. And part of me thinks whether he's had his head turned to go back to Merseyside, it's where his roots are. Maybe he thinks Liverpool will come for him. He's mixed with the England squad and so on. And it could well be like we said with Antonio in the past, that maybe his head's been turned, but certainly we're not seeing the best out of Creswell anymore, when he certainly was our star player till he had those injuries.
Did we miss a trick not going for Alfie Mawson in the January transfer window then, in your opinion? You think we need reinforcements there? He's excelled, if you like, since then.
If they could have done a straight swap for Ayew with no money being spent, because there's an interesting situation here where our recent big money expenditures have been on Payet and Ayew, disregarding Arnautovic, because we've been told that was the Sky money anyway that signed him. But for the other two signings, were we coming up to a stage where we were going to have to play or pay the club extra money? So in the end, the director said, "I'll tell you what, we owe you this, but if you buy him back, then we'll write this off." And then we're just juggling finances between one club and the other, between Marseille and Swansea. They were the two decent signings. So Mawson, at 20 million, we'd never have signed him. We might have put in a bid like we did with Dendoka for 4 million, and we'll pay you 8 million in the summer. So there are always clubs around who have got the cash, it seems. Now, I don't know how those wage deals are structured. They do seem so complicated, and there are certain times when a club would say, right, it's cash on the nail or nothing. We'd never be in that league. It's really how far we can spread it on the never never, and I don't know whether it's the culture of the directors that seem to set this pattern. It's not nice. We just don't seem to have the money to spend on the transfers and complete. Dendock is the example. The guy in Portugal was the same, and on it goes.
Mike, here's summer transfer budget. Where do you think the majority of it should go? What's your number one position that you need strength in?
You've got to, and they link, so I'm allowed to. Yeah. Central defence, I think it's the number one to go with. We can get away with Zabaleta and the fullbacks we've got. I think they both need improvement, but central defence is a major issue, central midfield is a major issue. Okay? Now, traditionally, the expensive players are generally the flair attacking players. I actually think we're pretty good for them. Yeah? And I wouldn't say no to a decent striker, but we have got to sort out the figure sale. We have conceded the second most goals in the league. I mean, you can't get past that. You just cannot. That is and we rate our goalkeeper as well, right? So I mean, what are you saying here? What you're saying is we have got a major problem keeping the ball out of our goal. That's a problem. Now, when we did, I don't know if you remember, I'm referencing something. We did the half-time thing against Swansea. Yeah, I said we will score. You know why? I believe we'll score. I think we haven't got a problem scoring, but I also said so will they. And I predicted 3-1, it was 4-1. Yeah, that's the problem. I think we'll score. I actually genuinely believe this to score goals. It's the other end. That's when he's sorting out. And it's not just saying defence, we need a midfield which will work with that defence as a unit.
What kind of midfielder do you need then?
I think we need two. I think we need a defensive midfielder to screen and a box-to-boxer to do a little bit of both.
Any suggestions as to who?
Magic hat time. Let's pull a name out of the hat. No, I'm not. I have another job. I haven't got time to scout these, right? I thought. Yeah, I know. That is his job. But for some reason, he thinks he is a major scout. I thought Mawson would have been a really good buy for us. I think he would have been around for a while. I actually think Declan Rice can come in and do a job for us over time. He shouldn't be just left in central mid-defence with two fullbacks, so that is not the thing to do with him. But again, Spurs away, I was at that game, he was immense playing on the left side of the three. I mean, with an experienced other players. But My point is, and that's what you do with him, you need someone who is younger but not a kid who's got some experience in Premier League. He would have been ideal. Unless they go down, we won't get him. I'm not a great fan of the West Brom guy who's supposed to be coming in. They're looking at, what's his name, Johnny
Evans.
Yeah, that Moyes apparently really wants to sign, is rumoured. He wants him if West Brom go down. Oh, the team that finishing bottom of the league, let's get their central. From the defence, which is worse than ours, the one. Let's get him in. No, that's just silliness, I think. And we need to spend some money this summer. You cannot get past it. I know you're saying, but ultimately the club is showing a profit. They have got to spend, not only, by the way, have you got those players leaving, but you've got the wages. Ayew was on big money, so was Font. Those have been freed up as well. So you've got money to spend here. They must have, on their own accounting, have money to spend here. You're going to have to do something about that defence, but they're going to have to do something about that midfield.
We keep saying it for you, John, was this summer make or break for the board now? Because we said it last year, but since then there's been a lot more pressure from fans, if you like. The accounts have come out recently, it shows they're quite healthy, and since those accounts of 31st of May 2017, we've sold players and generated a profit, we've cleared the decks with some of the wages. Is this summer the time to see why we moved to the London Stadium?
Well, a couple of issues first. I think this summer is going to be unique because of the World Cup. A lot of people are going to be on show in Europe. And there's always a lot of activity. Who's the new person on the scene? We know enough about world football, but there's always somebody that will start, or there's somebody who will think, yeah, he's going to be good, and so on. So there's going to be an unnatural high level of activity for who should sign and so on. That's one issue. Going back to the money side, what have we got to spend? If you look at what average wage of being 50k a week, so 2.5–3 million a year, there's still a transfer fee that's needed, which it will be in the tens of millions. Now, we said about Arnautovic that the Sky Money paid for him. The extra 20,000 tickets that we've got here now, the club is saying, well, of course, 10,000 of those were for the £99 children tickets. That's only £1 million extra. And then the other 8,000 were the 289 band 5.
Yeah, but we're not earning less money now than we were at Upton Park.
Correct, yes.
Right, so we've spent significantly less in the 2 seasons since we've moved to this stadium in total than we have in the 2 seasons before we moved stadium.
Yeah.
Therefore, there must be a surplus somewhere.
Yeah, agreed. It's not been spent. Again, we don't know what the financial, the payment terms are. It's very rare. I think it's impossible for us to say, okay, here you go, cash up front, bang.
All right, but regardless of that, taking that to one side, because it's all this thing about payment terms. Now, everyone wants money up front, blah, 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 but yeah, we're selling players. Are we not getting money up front for them? Also, the players we brought in before couldn't have been as expensive as we've shown in the accounts, because that would have been spread out. It must blend.
The thing is, I know they say that we receive fees and payments, but we also pay fees and payments, so for me it's sort of rules each other out, really. It's a bit like when they say agents fees, other clubs pay agent fees. It's not exclusive to West Ham United, but other clubs are still spending more on transfer fees, and that's what frustrates me the most.
The thing that's sad is we're talking about finance, and we were going to be talking about areas that need strengthening. And the sad thing about West Ham is...
I'll change the title of the video.
The sad thing is, and you've already brought this up, even your last question just about summed it up, it was a good question. That we've said for the last few seasons, that this is surely to summer they've got to show their mettle, and they never do, and this is the problem, isn't it? It doesn't really matter what we need doing, it's what they will actually do, and it doesn't matter what scouting system you've got in. It doesn't matter what Moyes says. The problem is Sullivan will be the one doing the deal.
I'm just about to jump in here, just to wrap this one up, John. Does it actually matter how much we spend? Let's just say they do revamp the scouting between now and the summer transfer window, etc. As long as they bring in the right players, is that the most important thing, rather than how much they spend? I know there's usually a correlation between the two, and the right players cost big bucks, but we have, historically, over the last few seasons, brought players in for relatively cheap compared to what they're worth now. Lanzini being the prime example, and Payet being another one. So is it sort of insignificant as long as they get the transfer dealings right?
Well,
we won't look at their next spend.
You've got to see the boost it gives the fans as well. You know, wow, we spent 20 million a year, great, it's great, you know, we're getting bigger. But look what we spent, what we bought Ayew, and then sent him back. He really never performed for 18 million or so. That was a disappointment. But does that mean then that that's the sort of transfer level that you have to be spending at now to grow even slightly? You're into the 20 millions. So I really don't know. The sad thing is that it's the effect on the fan base now that there's less to look forward to. And it's going to be an interesting summer with the World Cup. There will be new names cropping up. We should be in link with them. I hope Moyes is there in Russia, going from game to game. Good luck to him with the transport and everything else. But yeah, it's an interesting time, and you know, we're West Ham fans for life.
Brilliant. Just to sum it up, then, you want centre back, potentially full backs as well.
Yeah.
And you want a centre back and centre midfielder.
Yeah.
Plus all the other little bits and pieces we'd like to upgrade, but that's your priorities, yeah.
But I agree with you. As long as the quality's good, I don't mind if they're getting cheap.
People want to look at the net spend when the quality isn't good enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
If the quality comes in, I don't think anyone cares about the net spend. There will be some people who go like, well, where's the money? But I think I'd rather spend. But I actually, you look at Spurs, they sometimes generate a profit, but they improve the squad because they brought someone in on 10 million, sold them for 80, used that 70 million, bring in 3 players that are then going to go on and become 70 million. But that's how I'd like to see us run.
Okay.
And the summer's going to be telling. It's going to be very different because the transfer window's shorter now and it shuts before we kick off on the Premier League season. That's going to make it interesting, and we're really going to see the difference between a good director of football and someone who's blagging it. The ones that are blagging it, they haven't already been found out, they're going to get found out with this even shorter window, because usually you could wait until the first 2 games of the season, you could see who's not on the bench. You say, well, they're obviously not in the first team plan, so let's go after them. You don't get that heads up anymore. You've got to use your initiative, your knowledge and your expertise to get ahead of the game. Well, it's going to be an interesting window. But you guys let us know at home what positions you would like to see strengthened first. My priority is the same as Mike's, and that's defensive midfielder. Well, I think we need 2. I think we need a defending one and someone useful with the ball at their feet, apart from Mark Noble. And a centre back as well, especially if you're going to be offloading 1 or 2 and sticking with a straight back formation. But let us know at home what you think. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it and subscribe if you're new. Just want to say a massive thank you to The Last Drop, also known as The Podium, which is on the Queen Elizabeth Park just beside the London Stadium, who've let us film our Let's Discuss series here over the last couple of weeks. So thank you very much to them. Do check them out on Match Day if you haven't already. We'll see you soon.